Latika Rana could be the beautiful princess living an exotic fairy tale life. Born into an Indian royal family, married to a prince, she has chosen to study the kings of the jungle, Royal Bengal tigers.
It's a male cub. It's beautiful. Oh, it's coming in the sun. I had a dream when I was 7 of doing this sort of work with wildlife and tigers. And it's taken 20 years for this dream to be fulfilled. And it was in this place that it happened. And the whole park, the people here, the animals, all contributed to making this come true.
But this is not a fairy tale. Latika Rana has had to fight to fulfill her dream.
There's been so many people trying to stop me for so many different reasons. People who are threatened by my ability, people who are threatened by my social contacts, people who are threatened by my personality, people who are threatened by the fact that I could ask questions. I think it's a combination of being who I am, being the person I am, being so much more than they ever will be.
Despite opposition, she has recently been awarded by Oxford University its first doctorate on the management of tigers in the wild. Dr. Rana hopes her research will help save a gravely endangered species. Latika Rana not only wants to save tigers, she also enjoys her wealth and position in society.
I've had conservationists saying, oh, she's the one in chiffon saris and georgette saris who study tigers. They sort of expect everybody to, be one of those people who's in khakis and greens and a vegetarian and proper environmentalist. They can't accept the fact that you have two completely different sides to your personality. I can't do it. And you can dress up in designer clothes and go to really elite parties. Look feminine and beautiful, and then turn around and go in the jungle at 45 degrees centigrade for 13 hours a day and work with the best of them. A lot of them said, little girl, go back to the town and play with your dolls. Leave this to us macho men.
As in a fairy tale, Latika has found her prince. For while tiger watching, she fell in love with Nanda Shumsher Rana, a playboy aristocrat from the neighboring country of Nepal.
We do quarrel and quite a lot, in fact, but we do have our own differences, and we are quite different from each other in many ways. A lot of times she says something's black, I say it's white.
And certainly Latika is a character with strong opinions, who enjoys a challenge.
Are you happy now?
I don't think that's a proper question.
Why not?
Because I'm happy. It's just when you ask me questions like that, I get irritated because I am happy. I don't have to sit with a smile on my face 24 hours a day, and I don't want that film, please. So I don't think that's an appropriate question.
Because her husband is a Rana prince in Nepal, Latika can entertain in a palace. This one has been transformed into an exclusive restaurant. For 100 years, the Ranas were the rulers of the country, until the king regained absolute power in the 1960s. Today, they are the second aristocratic dynasty in the country, closely related by marriage to the royal family.
But it's definitely better than being a nobody.
Nanda's aunt was the queen murdered when the royal family was massacred by the crown prince in June 2001.
In Nepal, most of the women here from the upper class of society wear chiffon saris, and most of us on the table are wearing chiffons. It's almost like a status symbol.
I met Sadhna and
Then do that. Be an army
Sadhna and Vandana.
Around the table today, I've got a lot of Nanda's family. There are two of my sisters-in-law.
Very sly eyes. The ancestors, ruled Nepal. We ruled Nepal. So by the time you all come up, or maybe till your time also, you can stay as Jitu Rana's son.
The person in the uniform is one of Nanda's first cousins. It's Gaurav Rana, who he's very close to. And Gaurav is a colonel in the Nepali army.
Colonel Rana has invited the Tiger Princess and her prince, Latika and Nanda, to army celebrations. It is a time of Nepal's most important religious festival, a Hindu goddess's victory over evil.
They put water before the sacrifice and it's supposed to shiver and stretch out. And that one hasn't done it. That's why everything's stopped.
God, now he must be really nervous, that guy. Huh? Inspecting his cookery and all. I think it's really a privilege that we've been able to witness an old ceremony. And it's remarkable how little the animals suffer. All clean sacrifices, and the gods accepted them, and it's an auspicious beginning for the year for the army.
You have to learn that it's a part of their lives, and if you're trying to integrate and live with them, you're going to see it happen. And because I've grown up with the blood and everything, it doesn't really bother me.
It all started for Latika when her father went big game hunting and took her along.
And it's not much good for shooting anything except maybe a big animal, soft skin animal like a tiger. You shot them if they had a certain size of a trophy head, and certainly one didn't shoot females.
Her mother always knew that her only child had one overwhelming interest.
Latika, ever since she was a little child, has been very fond of animals.
Oh, you've got such long lashes.
My parents lived on a farm in Kashmir, and we had lots of animals there.
Huh?
What are the names?
This is Tinker, this is Poppy.
She'd chase these little calves, and we had some horses and goats, and she loved being outdoors most of the time. She was very set in her mind about what she wanted to do. She didn't give us any second choices about what is the line of interest that she had. And in a way, it made it easy for us because we knew where to support her. Latika wanted to work on a particular area where there was really need for something, and she really likes tigers. They're a very beautiful animal.
I think children absorb what goes on in the house, and the people in our house from ever since she remembers were either doctors or wildlifers. I think tigers became her choice. She really has some sort of empathy with tigers.
It's the sheer majesty of the animal. It's supremely in control. It's so completely a cat. And it's an animal that does its own thing. It doesn't attack unless provoked. It doesn't like being disturbed. It leads its own existence, and it's happy to be left alone. And it's just the thrill of seeing something so beautiful, so untamed, left in the wild alone as it's meant to be. That makes me love them so much.
She knew why she wanted to help save tigers, but had no idea how difficult it was going to be. As a first step to fulfill her dream, Latika decided to study tigers in the wild. At the age of 24, funded by a scholarship from the Indian Wildlife Institute, she set out from Delhi on the journey that changed her life.
I just decided that this is what I wanted to do and I did it. So I borrowed a four-wheel drive from a friend in Delhi. I'd never been on my own out of Delhi. Never driven a four-wheel drive vehicle. Got into it.
She drove down all the way from Delhi to Bandhavgarh on her own. Didn't want us to be with her. And it was it's a difficult drive through Madhya Pradesh because it's through the Chambal ravines and it's not safe. And she had a driver and a maid with her.
And the maid and I set out halfway across India in this borrowed vehicle. And for some strange reason, even my mother can't figure out why, my parents agreed. And they gave me this driver. And the three of us set off.
She's a young girl to go and live out in the forest on her own, and my family all thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
I suddenly found my driver putting up his window. And I looked at him and said, "What are you doing?" He said, No, there's bears in this country. One of them's going to reach through the window and grab hold of me. And I sort of said, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, I'm going to go and work in a jungle with a driver who's afraid to drive through a forest, you know."
The destination for the three of them was the Bandhavgarh jungle camp, run at that time by a dashing playboy prince from Nepal called Nanda Shumsher Rana. He was a family friend, but destined to become much more.
It was about 11 o'clock at night, after having driven through this really barren countryside. And Nanda came, and he said, "What happened?" And I just looked at him and just burst into tears because it was really bad.
And she said that, "Aren't you Mr. Rana?" So I said, "Yes, I'm Mr. Rana." And she says, "Don't you remember me?" So, of course, you don't say, "I don't remember you" to a lady. So I said, "Yes, I remember you." Then I sort of said that, "Why don't you come over for dinner?"
The one thing that did, I think, strike us both was that we did realize that both of us felt very strongly about the jungle and about nature and, that where animals were concerned, we sort of shared a bond. And I think we felt more passionately about it than most normal people, so.
A keen observer of their burgeoning romance was the Maharaja of Riva. His forebears gave the Bandhavgarh Reserve to the nation, but not before shooting hundreds of its tigers. The present Maharaja is also a Bollywood scriptwriter who welcomes an opportunity to exercise his talent.
Nanda was managing the camp here, and she was doing her research. So they were doing two different things, staying in one place, but the common factor was the tigers. The tiger became an automatic bond between them, and they were both looking at the tiger, and the captivating, bewitching charm of the tiger probably was one of the most important manure which was put into their relations, and that affair blossomed out. And when they were looking at the eyes of the tiger, suddenly their eyes opened and they glanced at each other and they said, "Wow, we are looking at each other also." And the common mirror which is reflecting each other is the tiger.
Family, the once hereditary rulers of Nepal. It was not an easy time for either of them, so they kept their relationship secret.
No parent in India would want their daughter to marry someone divorced with 3 children. It's that straightforward. I think nobody in England would either, or in the West.
No parent.
No parent would. I mean, if they had a choice, they'd rather that you start your own family and start from scratch. So they had to be very, very sure that this wasn't an impetuous decision and something that I would, repent later. and regret doing.
Latika threw herself into her research in Bandhavgarh. Her aim was to identify its tiger population and map each territory. She discovered 31 tigers in her study area and followed in particular a tigress known as Sita, now dead, but whose dynasty lives on.
Yeah, look, that's the pug marks of the tigers coming, and that's the pug marks of the tigers going. And this lot is actually absolutely perfect for tracing. And they're quite fresh because the mud is still compressed. It's absolutely imperative that you be directly above the pug mark when you trace it. This is a routine that's followed by every park official when he does a tracing. So you have to be directly above the pug mark. Then you write the details, date, and take it.
She would go out in the nights into the range we went, which has the worst roads, and she would drive from about 8 o'clock in the night and come back at 4 o'clock in the night.
Some believe there are now fewer than 3,000 tigers left in the wild in India, and Latika recommends a strategy to preserve their habitat and protect them from poaching in Bandhavgarh. To record the movements of the tigers, she set up 22 camera traps.
Flash तो कर रहा है, इसका मतलब काम ठीक कर रहा है.
Anything passing in front of the sensors triggers a self-portrait.
क्यों एक बार शेर बन के देख लो कि लेवल वगैरह ठीक है या नहीं. ठीक है?
Even in the jungle, Latika has a team of servants to help her.
आजा, जल्दी से आ जाओ क्योंकि फ्लैश अभी चार्ज नहीं हुआ. पीछे 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 और ठहरो जब फ्लैश बताएंगे तब. अब तो चलते हैं. बस चलो. If I'm a woman working in the field and I do things my way, then I do things my way, and people accept it and live with it, or don't accept it and I carry on doing what I'm doing.
But suddenly her dream of saving tigers was shattered. Influential conservationists in India challenged her research. After just 1 year's study, her permission to work in the park was withdrawn. Would this be the end of her tiger dream?
You don't realize what it's like working here. The petty problems of dealing with bureaucracy. The single-minded efforts of people to pull you down. They said that I may be making up my data and making up false data. And they got my Save the Tiger Fund scholarship cancelled.
Latika puts her problems with the tiger conservation establishment down to envy.
I think it's a combination of being who I am, being the person I am, being so much more than they ever will be. And also being in it because I love doing it. And they're in it for earning a living. And they felt that eventually I had the potential to outshine them. So there's this, feeling of threat.
But Latika is nothing if not determined. She applied to do a doctorate at Oxford University, far from her enemies in India. It was a long shot, but even if she were accepted, she would need money, lots of it. But there was one place she could always turn to for support: her parents.
At every stage, they just said, this is your dream. And we will do whatever it takes to help you make your dream come true. And I think very, very few people have parents who do that.
One has a right to live life the way one wants, and all we can do, and we'd like to do whatever we can to support her. And I said, I'd like to see her achieve her goal.
And they said, we had saved money for you to help you in life, and we will give it to you now, as much as you want, you know, so that you can continue your research.
So she had unlimited funds, but no place at a university. Then an extraordinary thing happened. One of the tourists visiting the park identified herself as an influential Oxford professor.
Meeting Judith Pallow in Bandhavgarh has been a great turning point, because it was like, I don't know, God ordained it to be.
I said to her, I do hope that you're going to take this further. Are you doing a degree? Are you doing a doctorate anywhere? And she said, well, as a matter of fact, I have put in an application to go to Oxford. And I said, oh, well, that's fascinating. Which college have you applied to? And she said, well, I've applied to Christ Church.
And there's one tutor for graduates in Christ Church, and that one tutor for graduates comes to this national park in India and meets this person who's applied for admission to her college.
And I said, well, you might be interested to know that I'm the tutor for graduates from Christ Church, Oxford. And would you like me to interview you now and give you my decision? And so, of course, it was obvious that this was a young woman who we would certainly welcome in the college.
It's incredible.
What do I like about her? I find her interesting. Do I really have to answer that question? What on earth do I like about Latika?
With the prestige of Oxford University behind her, her enemies could not stand in her way. Latika's wish had come true. It took 6 years research and writing to complete her thesis. Today, she hopes her doctorate will place her among the greatest names in tiger conservation in the world.
This is the first complete holistic study after George Schaller's study in 1968. That is an achievement in itself.
Alongside her doctorate, Latika had another wish she hoped would come true. She wanted to marry her prince, Nanda Rana.
Look at the work, the weight. It's beautiful.
For that, she had somehow to convince her parents she was making the right choice.
I think this is very yes.
I think it's very elegant.
Yeah? I think we should take this. What do you think? It's really lovely.
I was a little worried about their age difference, because Nanda's quite a bit older than her, and he's seen life. She's just starting out on life. But so long as I think she has his support and she's happy, that's what we wanted. And when I look at all the plus points that he has, if we were trying to arrange a match for her and to look for somebody with all these qualities, I don't think I could have found one.
A divorced man, 3 kids, did what I felt like, and took her a lot of time to convince her parents, because any parent, I think, would, if I was in their place, I would have said no.
I was concerned, and yet I was very conscious that they had a very special relationship, and I didn't really think that she would be happy in her life if she didn't marry Nanda.
It took Latika and Nanda 3 years to win parental approval for the marriage, but eventually they got their way. And today in Delhi, Latika is looking forward to another wedding.
So you gave him this and he's put all these around?
This is the necklace I've had made for my cousin, whose wedding we're going to be attending. And she's a very special cousin for me. So I wanted to give her something that would be something that she could remember for the rest of her life.
Well, that's really lovely. That's really lovely.
This is the first wedding I'm attending since after my own. And she was there with me throughout mine. I'm so glad you like it. I sort of went, no. So it's lovely that we've sort of been able to do it together both times.
Latika and Nanda's wedding took place in December 1999 with full Hindu rituals. Among the guests was her favorite cousin, until she was called away.
It was my wedding. I planned it. It wasn't a big public performance. It was a small wedding by Indian standards at home. Very intimate. All my close friends came.
Of course, I was getting married to a girl I really loved, which of course was the best part about it.
Today, the Tiger Princess lives with her prince in Kathmandu, the capital of the Himalayan kingdom of Nepal. Their house is not a palace, but a comfortable home, with plenty of servants.
How many people are there? 30, no? 30. We've ordered all the vegetables.
Hey, Ram!
Is getting it.
Ram, wo palak mila, saag?
With the festival continuing, they're preparing for a large family feast. Many of Nanda's relatives will arrive tomorrow. Latika and Nanda have decided to cook the principal dishes themselves.
Now there's a big difference about Latika's cooking and my cooking. She starts off with oil or with the food. I start off with a scotch. Then I'll carry on. Put more. But Nepalese men also, quite a few of them do cook. Not as much as
Is this enough, or
you
do you
do it
want
in
more?
England. They usually expect the women
Do you want
women
more,
to cook.
or is this enough?
Put more. All, put all.
Latika insists on a separate kitchen, so she and Nanda can cook apart from the servants.
Well, I just like my gadgets, and servants aren't used to microwaves and things like that. So it's just to do my little bit of fancy cooking and, baking and things like that. And I didn't want the servants using the same things, because everything sort of breaks in 3 days if you leave it to them.
The festival brings its own special traditions for the Nepalese people.
Everything is governed by astrologers and priests, and what's auspicious and what's not. And all these little superstitious customs and traditions have been new to me, and I'm not used to that.
Well, now what will happen is one of my staff will cut a duck and he'll offer the blood to the car. He'll put on the wheels of the car. And that just assures good luck with your machinery or your car or aeroplanes in the airport. It assures good luck for it.
Okay, these are my anchors.
For this family reunion, Latika is wearing a sari of real gold thread, with all the trimmings.
I only cut down the amount of jewelry I wear when I go to England. If I wore stuff like this, it would sort of be, I think I'd get mugged as soon as I got out of Heathrow. We've always led dual lives. It's very natural to do this and then, become a complete sort of environmentalist in khakis and no jewelry and no fancy life. It's dual nature. It's like we speak more than one language, and it comes so naturally. Something to do with the goddess's blessings or something. I need somebody to tie this. Okay, so let's go.
Also, you're looking younger and younger.
The family and servants have gathered for the ritual of giving and receiving the red tika mark on foreheads and the sprinkling of ceremonial grass on the head. And Nanda's cousins can say how delighted they are he has married his tiger princess.
Nanda was a very carefree sort of a guy, but probably with Nanda has had one or two sort of love affairs or whatever you call it. Yes, he was very much a very good-looking man, and he is yet.
We
were fairly surprised because we thought if he stayed alone, he'd go back to his playboy ways, etc., which he was when he was young.
At that time in Kathmandu, he was one of the first to have a motorcycle. More than that, he had a Capri, a Ford Capri. So he had a very rakish life, I should say, and he enjoyed himself to the maximum. And now I think it's time for him to settle down. Nature has to take its course, between a man and a woman.
By marrying a Rana, Latika has arrived at the top of Kathmandu society.
You can imagine people are not very used to Rana daughter-in-laws going off into the jungle for months on end. So I think there's been a lot of adjustment on both sides. Oh, it's not only the women, it's the men as well. I mean, a lot of men say, oh my gosh, we're not used to having such an educated daughter-in-law. It's really nice. It's been really good. And everybody's been very, very supportive and very proud that there is someone like me in the family now.
We don't want those.
Well, I call Nanda Raja, which means king.
But if you kept your titles, what would you be now?
I suppose Rani Sahib, which means queen.
A petitioner is calling on the family on this special day. She is the oldest surviving member of the Rana Palace household, but is neither a relative nor a servant.
This is Talking Bird Di, which means Talking Bird Sister. She used to be the concubine of Nanda's great-grandfather, Babar Shamsher. And she came to their palace when she was 7 years old and stayed in the palace from that time onwards. And she says that she's over 100 years old. You have to give her something when you wish her. They're 10 rupees or 15 rupees. Okay, I think that's it.
The festival over, Latika is returning to the tigers in the Bandhavgarh Reserve once more, with no idea of what she will find when she gets there. In a temple where funeral pyres burn every day, Latika and Nanda pray for the good fortune they will need for the long journey.
We're going to be going back to Bandhavgarh the first time after I've finished my DPhil research. And I've been essentially away for about 1.5 years writing up. So I have no idea what's happened in the meantime. And I've come to ask the gods to give us their blessings for an auspicious journey and to make sure that all the tigers are okay. And when we get there, we get to see as many of them as we can. We're very attached to the park, and it's been so long that I'm really looking forward to going back. It's almost like going home, Okay. Suitcase yahan le aao.
Just for the park, we try to take clothes that are suitable for the park. You see, the colors, everything sort of matter. And sober colors won't scare off the animals or bewilder the animals. While if you wear very bright colors in the park, it does hamper your animal sightings. And of course, I always have a kukri along with me. So in case we have a party, usually they get a goat.
listen. Where have they gone? Sorry.
A 14-hour journey on the Gondwana Express takes them into the heart of India.
That's where the dacoits used to be.
Yeah.
They pass through a country that is home to millions of people who struggle to survive. People for whom tiger conservation is a low priority.
It's very difficult to say you should sacrifice people to the cause of conservation or sacrifice conservation to the cause of people. Both need to coexist. So I don't think that's a correct question at all. It's an emotional issue. You can't really talk about things like that. And I don't think we really have poverty like the slums. The slums are only in the cities. And people live in there out of choice.
Latika has chosen where she wants to live, in her twin worlds, at the peak of high society and in the jungle among the tigers.
Mommy is so cute. Oh, so cute.
For the first time for nearly 2 years, Latika is back in the park.
Hi Anil, how are you? Kaise ho Mahavir Balam?
The servants show them great respect and touch their feet.
Kaise ho? Kaise ho? Bas, theek. Looking nice, how great to be back. Bliss, pure heaven. I really regret the 2 years I've been away. किनका गाइड नंबर है?
उनको जिसका नंबर है मैं दे दूंगा उनको।
पैसे हाँ ये ट्रिप का।
आज मैं आने के बाद
Latika believes that only if prayers are offered to the god of the reserve will they see a tiger.
I'm going to go and pray to the god, and I'm going to light some incense sticks, break a coconut, and ask for his blessings.
What have you prayed for?
It's personal. You don't reveal that on camera.
Is it anything to do with tigers?
Maybe, may not be, but it's something I've prayed to God for, and I don't tell you on camera. It's something very, that you just ask the. Don't step in the tracks. Look like double tracks. That's all. हमारा ये ना?
आज only don't.
The pug marks go off the road here. You can see it turning this way, and it's gone up into the forest right here. So even as we talk, they could be standing up there and watching us, just sort of behind the bamboo there, which means I think we should get back into the car. Yes?
Almost immediately, a radio message from a forest guard puts them on the right trail.
They found a tiger on the other side of the park.
So let's go there.
We are going to zip there, so
hold on. Put your camera down.
We are going to zip.
Jaldi chalte hain, huh?
Two cubs there, one is a male and one is a female, which is actually Sita's grandchildren. You know, you've heard of Sita, the famous tigress. It's her daughter's cubs that are out here.
Chalo. We've just followed lots of alarm calls and found the 2 cubs sitting here. There's alarm calls on the distant hills. That might be the mother coming back to get the cubs. I think it's a male and a female. It's the first time I've seen them this morning. They're a wonderful age. I think they're about 15 months old. Very inquisitive. And it's wonderful to see him. I'm seeing a tiger after a year and a half and I'm just absolutely in ecstasy. Mother, careful, careful. The size of its front paws is so immense. Look at it. See, it's chewing bamboo. You always find large quantities of bamboo in their scat when I analyzed it.
Latika is back among the tigers, a species both threatened and feared. In every village round the Bandhavgarh Reserve, there are shrines to the dangerous predator.
This is a statue of the tiger god Ghanshyam, and they worship this to ensure that the tiger gods protect them and that their cattle are not eaten by tigers and that their villages are not affected by man-eaters. That's as much as I know about this custom.
In one place, local people appease the tiger by performing a special dance. Latika and Nanda need to visit a friend, a hermit who lives in an ancient fort 1,000 feet above the forest. They have heard that he is almost blind and near death. The fort is now a lost world of ruined palaces with broken statues of Hindu gods. Wildlife lives here undisturbed. A palm civet is a rare sight.
और कैसे पहचाना? ठीक है दादा, हमको पहचान लिया।
जय सिया राम बाबा। धोती।
The hermit is happy to stay up here, although unlike the tiger princess, he has nothing.
This fort is like his kingdom, you know, it's been for 27 years. And he's lived all alone for 27 years up here, just looking after the temple. And he's saying, before he was sort of saying that he wanted to go down, but now he's saying, I don't want to go down. If I die, I'll die here.
It's too sad. I don't feel I have to show the world how I'm feeling when I'm in the park. It's a special equation between me and the park. And what I feel and what I think is in my heart and my brain. I don't have to show it on my face.
Latika has only recently completed her
Thank
thesis
you.
to help save tigers in the wild. As yet, it has had no impact.
He says.
She still wants to make her mark in tiger conservation, although she wants to do it her own way.
It upsets me that people take advantage of the glamour of the tiger to earn, you know, a name and earn lots of money. And they use the tiger without giving anything back.
Only time will tell if the dream of saving tigers will come true for Latika Rana, the tiger princess.